This lesson is about decimal operations. So it seems like we're packing a lot into one lecture, but we're only going to do a few examples of each. And I know you guys have seen a lot of this stuff, so we're just packing it in. It's a nice review, and you can refer back to this at any time. So the first thing we're going to do is write decimal numbers in words. So here we go. First we have to identify the whole number part, which is 18, and the decimal part, which is the 2. So first thing we need to know is this. We have to know some decimal place values. So in this case, the 2 is in the tenths place. And then it goes out hundredths, thousands, ten thousandths, and then hundred thousandths, millionths, 10 millionths, 100 millionths. Okay, so we're going to keep referring to this. And then on the whole number star, of course it starts with the ones place, and then the tens place, then the hundreds place, etc. Notice how the decimal place value has the TH in them all the time. Okay. So in the first one, we're going to write 18.2. So we don't say 0.2. We want to write it as 18. That's the whole number part. And then when you hit the decimal, you say the word and. And then you name the number on the other side as if it didn't have a decimal point at all. So 2, and then you name the place value of the last digit, and in this case, it's tenths. And you're done. So it's 18 and 2 tenths. Now let's do the other one. This one's a little bit lengthier. So the first number in the whole number area is 43. So we write 43. And the numbers between, let's see, 21 and 99, not counting like 30, 40, 50, etc., will have a hyphen in it, a little dash. Now we see the dot or the decimal point, and we write the word and. Then we name this number as if it were a standalone number. So 253. And then we name the 3 is the last digit in the number, so we look up and we realize the 3 is in the thousands place, so we write thousands. So this number is 43 and 253 thousandths. Now we're going to do the opposite thing. Let's look and write each decimal number in standard form, which means write them as numbers. That's what that means. So 39 and 16 hundredths. So 39 is your whole number part, and means your decimal point, 16 hundredths. So you write the word 16, the number 16 is just that, and then you have to make sure the last digit is in the hundredths place. Is it? Let's see. Well, the 1 is in the tenths place. Yes, the 6 is in the hundredths place. We're golden, man. Okay, 39 thousandths. This means that there is no whole number component at all, because there's no word and. So we're going to do 0 for the whole number component, the decimal. Now, how do I know it's a decimal and not just a regular whole number? Da-da, the TH gives it away. So 39 thousandths. So the end of the 39 has to be in the thousands place. So I'm just going to go out and say, oh, there's my thousands place right there. I'm going to put the 9 in there. And then 39, but there's nothing here, so I fill it in with a 0. The next thing we're going to do is compare decimals. So what we're going to do is I'm going to line them up vertically. And I want to just line up my decimal point so that I get it. All right, so here's the deal. So the first one is 0.063, which is 63 thousandths. The next one is 6 thousandths. And the next one is actually 60 thousandths. So I look, these first zeros don't help me out at all. These do not help me out at all. But this column does, because this 0 is the smallest in this column. So this number here, 6 thousandths, will be the smallest. So I'm going to write it over here. So, and I'm going to cross them off. And the next thing I have to compare is, since these are the same, the 6 and the 6, I am going to compare the very last column. And you compare columns from left to right, because the leftmost are the bigger pieces of the number. So I notice that this 0 is smaller than the 3, so this one is my next smallest number, and I'll move them over here and cross them off. And then last but not least, I know this guy is my largest. So small, medium, large. Okay? Okay, let's look at the next one. Well, I'm going to write all the numbers vertically because it's easier, and line up my decimal point. And I want to make sure I copy everything correctly. And you know what I automatically did for this second number? I just tacked on a 0 to make sure that all of them had nice amount, same number of digits. So now the 2's don't help me, but this column, I noticed that this 6 is largest. So I'm going to put him down here and cross him off. He's the largest guy. Now I look at the next one, and I realize that these guys are tied, but this guy is definitely smaller than everybody. So I'm going to write him down as the smallest. This one is 25 and 83 thousandths. And this one's already at 26, right? This guy's 25, so he's gone. He's the smallest. Now what about these two guys? Well, let's do the next column. Well, I see that this one is a 3, this one's a 0. So this one's smaller, so I write it down. It's 25 and 803 thousandths. And last but not least, 25 and 830 thousandths. Perfect. Done. Now comes the part for rounding. So when we round, we want to make sure that we know our place values. And here we have tens, ones, tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Good? All right, so we have all those, so we're prepared. So part A, we're going to round that to the nearest tenth. So 0.487. So I'm underlining the place I want to round to, the 4. And the 8, I need to just look at the number right to the right of it, directly to the right of it, nothing else. And the 8, since the 8 is 5 or larger, it bumps that 4 up to a 5, and everything else goes to 0. In fact, I'm going to write it just like this, 0.5, because they really only want the tenths place to appear. Now if I look at part B, 234 and 634 thousandths, I want to round that to the nearest 10. The nearest 10. Ooh, not to the nearest tenth. So I look and I need to underline the tens place. So there he is, right there, the 3. Now I look at the ones place and I bring it over. The 4 makes the 3 actually stay the same. So I get 2, 3. Now I'm thinking about it. I have to get something in the 200s. So what I'm really thinking to myself, is this entire number closer to 230 or 240? Well, I think about it, it's 230, and then everything else will drop to 0. If you want to put the zeros in, fine, but they really want the last digit other than 0 to be in the tens place, so 230. C, we have a dollar value, and we want to round to the nearest cent. Cent is always in the hundredths place. That's your cent. So I'm really rounding to 2 decimal places. So $30 and 4,062 ten thousandths, which is kind of weird. But anyway, I'm going to put the dollar sign in front, and I'm underlining the 0 because that's where I'm rounding to. The 6 makes the 0 go to a 1. So it's 30.41, $30.41. And now, D, we want to round to the nearest dollar. So for the nearest dollar is the ones place. So now we are going to round this to the nearest dollar. So I'm looking at the ones place. Let me write it out. So I'm underlining the ones place. The 4 makes this ones place, 3, stay the same. So it's going to be $4,123. $4,123. And then all the rest just goes. You don't have to write it because it's after the decimal. But if you choose to, it's okay. The next is adding and subtracting decimals. If you line up your decimal point, you're golden, man. If you don't line up your decimal point, you're messed up. So 24.63 and 25.09, we're just going to add them. So it's like adding $24.63 to $25.09. So this is 12, carry the 1, 72, 9, 4, and you're done. The next one I'm subtracting. So think about it this way. It's like $120. Subtract $17.53. You cashiers out there are probably really good at this, so we can't subtract 3 from 0. So we're just going to keep borrowing. 10 take away 3 is 7. 9 take away 5 is 4. 9 take away 7 is 2. 1 take away 1, 0. And 1 take away 0 is 1. So it's $102.47. Even though I don't have the dollar sign there, I'm still thinking money. Okay, so for the next ones, we're going to multiply decimals. Okay, so the only tricky part is we have to figure out where the decimal point is at the end. But it won't be that hard to do, okay? And then if we choose to estimate our answers, we're going to be golden, man. So the first thing is we're going to do 1.4 times 3.2. And we're going to multiply them as if we're multiplying two whole numbers together. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Put 0 as a placeholder because now we're multiplying the next position over, so we're shifting. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Add 1 is 4. Then we're going to add Okay? Now, if we put no decimals in at all, we realize our answer cannot be right because this is only 1.4 multiplied by 3.2. It's like 2 multiplied by 3 or 1 multiplied by 3. You're going to get a number between 3 and 6, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to count the total number of digits to the right of the decimal point. I'm going to circle those digits. 1, 2. So that means going from right to left, I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places to the left and pop it in. So it's 4.48. Now if we do a quick check, 1.4 is about the number 1. It's closer to 1 than it is to 2. 3.2 is closer to 3 than it is to 4, and 1 times 3 is 3. So our answer is close to the estimate of 3. Here's my estimate. Cool? So we'll do the same thing for the next one. 2.361, which is 2 and 361 thousandths, and I'm going to multiply it by 7. So again, I'm going to multiply it as if I'm multiplying two whole numbers together. So 7 times 1 is 7, 6 times 7 is 42, 3 times 7 is 21, add 4 is 25, 2 times 7 is 14, add 2 is 16. And then I'm going to count the total number of digits to the right of the decimal point. 1, 2, 3. And I move my decimal point to the left. 1, 2, 3. So my answer exact is 16 and 527 thousandths. Okay? So let's estimate our answer and see if we're close. Well, the 7 is just 7. And 2.361 is closer to 2 than it is to 3, so my estimate is 14. So my estimate is close to my actual, so I know my actual is good. Now, multiplying powers of 10, I love this because it's so wicked great. So if I think about it, this is 43 and 543 thousandths. And I'm going to multiply it by 1,000, which means I'm going to make this number bigger. So I'm going to move my decimal point to the right 3 spaces, because every time I multiply by a power of 10, I make that number 10 times bigger. So when I multiply by 10, I just move my decimal point. So in this case, I'm going to multiply by 1,000, so I'm moving it over 3 spaces to the right because I'm making the number bigger. So it's 43,543, or 43,543. Don't be lazy. Write the actual number out. Now here's the deal here, is I'm multiplying by a smaller power of 10, which is 1/100th. So instead of moving my decimal point to the right, I got to do it to the left. And I'm going to, since it's 1/100th or 100th, I'm going to multiply it, move the decimal point to the left 2 places, because the 100th has 2 places. So we're going to move it to the left 2 places. So we get 1 and 412 thousandths. Okay, we're making the number smaller. In this case, I'm beefing the number and making it bigger. Now, when we divide decimals, here's the deal. And then we're going to do an estimate to check our work. Because if you do the estimate, it really can help you place the decimal point. So in this case, the 8 goes on the outside. The number 30.4 goes on the inside. Okay? The 8 is the divisor. 30.4 is called the dividend. Okay, that's the inside number. And then the answer is going to be called the quotient. So we're dividing by a whole number, so we don't need to move any decimal point. We can just bring her on up. 8 does not go into 3, but it does go into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract, and then bring down this 4. 8 goes into 64 8 times, so my result is 3.8. Now if we do an estimate, 30.4 is, if we think about it, it is closer to 30, okay? And 30 divided by 8 doesn't come out evenly, but it comes out 32 divided by 8 is approximately, it is exactly 4. So we could think that this is really approximately equal to 4. Let me get rid of that little thing here and write it a little bit more accurately. There you go. Okay. The next one is written weird, but if I think about it, I think about this as a tower. So this guy, if I push the tower over, this guy's going to topple over and go right underneath as my dividend. This guy's going to be my divisor. I'm going to move the decimal point here because I can only divide by a whole number. So I'm going to move them over, 1 to the right to make him whole, 1 to the right to make him whole, and bring it on up. Okay. So my new problem becomes 32 into 57.6. 32 does not go into 5, but it goes into 57 once. 32, we're going to subtract a Reno. 7 minus 2 is 5. 5 minus 3 is 2. And then I'm going to bring down the 6. All right, so I got to decide. I'm going to guess. I'm going to think about how many times 3 goes into 25, and I'm going to say 8 it does. 8 times 2 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 3 is 24, add 1 is 25. Woohoo! So my answer is equal to 1.8. But if I think about it, the top number is almost the number 6, and the bottom number is about the number 3. So this guy is going to be approximately 2, so I am golden. Whoa. Dividing by a power of 10 is not too bad. I think about it, if I'm dividing this number by 1,000, I'm going to make it 1,000 times smaller. So I'm going to move the decimal point to the left 3 spaces. So I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to put a 0 here. But I'm not going to be lazy, and I'm going to write the number out. Now this number is a very strange number to say. It's 43,543, and then we have to figure out what I call it the suffix on the end. So this is tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. So this will be 43,543 millions. The next one, again, I'm dividing this number by 10, so I'm making it smaller. So I'm going to move the decimal point to the left 1 space. So I just automatically did that. And this number is 1,243 tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000. 1,243 10,000s. Now you can finally go and do the lesson associated with this lecture. I know you'll be able to keep referring back to it if you need it. Please ask your instructors during class if you have any issues.